Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're plunging into, well, a really unique set of materials, a big collection of practical tips for actually using HubSpot day to day. Our mission here is to go beyond the basics, extract those surprising nuggets, those insights that can genuinely elevate your HubSpot game, save you time, and unlock hidden efficiencies.
Exactly. And HubSpot, for anyone maybe less familiar, it's this incredibly powerful software system. It's all about managing huge amounts of customer data systematically. It's got these integrated hubs, CRM, marketing, sales, service, ops, CMS. They're always adding features. It's really foundational for modern business growth.
Okay, let's start unpacking this. The absolute core of any CRM is contacts. So what actually happens when you hit delete on a contact in HubSpot? Seems simple, right?
Right, but it's definitely not quite that simple. There are nuances. If that contact is linked to a company record when you delete them, their past emails, the tracking, that actually stays on the company records.
Stays there.
Yeah, and this is the important part. If the deletion is because of a legal thing like GDPR or maybe PDPA, then those recorded emails, they get removed from the company page too.
So compliance changes the game there. Interesting.
Completely. It's a key difference.
Okay, moving on to personalization. This is where it gets really interesting for teams, I think. If you're customizing your contact or company records, like rearranging the order of properties, who sees that change?
That's a great question, and thankfully it's a user-specific change. So only you, the person who dragged and dropped, will see that new order. Your setup won't mess with anyone else's view.
Phew. Okay. Good for team harmony. So thinking about data persistence, what about recorded calls? How long do those stick around in HubSpot?
Yeah, those call recordings, they're pretty sticky. They are permanently stored right there on the contact's timeline. They only disappear if the entire portal is deleted or cleared out completely, or if there's a specific GDPR or PDPA deletion request for that contact.
Right, so they hang around unless actively removed for legal reasons or a total clear out. Makes sense for record keeping.
Exactly.
Okay, with all this data accumulating, segmentation becomes key. How can someone effectively categorize their contacts? Make sense of it all.
That's where the lead scoring tool really shines. You can set up quite specific criteria based on behavior, demographics, engagement, whatever you need. And the cool part is you can then test these criteria using sample contacts just to make sure your scoring actually works, that it qualifies people the way you intend.
Testing it first. Smart. Now, you mentioned data traps earlier. There's apparently a subtle but pretty significant distinction when it comes to company names. What's that about?
Yes, this one catches so many people. The company name field that lives within the contact properties, well, it's in a completely separate data pool from the main company object system in HubSpot.
Separate pool. Okay.
Yeah. So if you try filtering your contacts using criteria like company name is known or is unknown, it won't pull that info from your main company database automatically. It only works if that company name has been manually typed or synced into the contact property itself. You can't assume they talk to each other.
Wow, okay. So you need to actively populate that contact field if you want to filter contacts by it. Good heads up. That could cause some major reporting headaches otherwise.
Exactly. You need to be aware of those separate data structures.
All right, we've navigated some data fundamentals. Let's shift to optimizing the tools themselves. Forms, for instance. What if you see unexpected entries? Maybe from someone who swears they haven't filled out that form on that browser before. Seems fishy.
Yeah, usually not fishy, more cookie related. It's almost always a lingering tracking cookie, probably from an email they opened previously. The usual fix, just get them to clear their browser cookies. It often solves those mystery pre-fills.
Okay, simple enough. And for people analyzing form performance, what about the form submit dashboard? The numbers there, they relate to a specific time frame.
Absolutely. The number of submissions you see on that dashboard directly reflects the time range you've selected. So always double check your date filter if the numbers look off.
Got it. And speaking of lists, any hidden rules or limitations there?
Yeah.
Something simple people might miss?
Just a small but important one. You cannot copy a static list. There's no duplicate button. You'd have to rebuild it if you need a copy.
Good to know. Saves clicking around looking for a button that isn't there.
Okay.
Workflows. Hugely powerful. Everyone loved them. But how fast are they actually? And what happens with really big accounts? Tens of thousands of contacts.
They're impressively fast. Workflows can generally process and send data to about 20 contacts per second. But for those massive accounts, say over 10,000 contacts, HubSpot does something smart. It evaluates a sample, usually at a 1:16 ratio, to estimate how many contacts meet the criteria. keeps things moving, but it means the count might be an estimate, not an exact real-time figure for huge batches.
20 per second is quick, but that sampling for large accounts is a key detail for understanding the numbers.
Yeah.
Now, this raises a really important question. Workflows have that setting to run only on weekdays, right? Monday to Friday. Do all the actions inside that workflow respect the weekday-only rule?
This is a classic workflow pitfall. The answer is no. Even if the overall workflow is set for weekdays only, any delay steps within that workflow, they will still run over the weekend. Saturday, Sunday, the delay counts down.
Oh, wow. Okay, so a 2-day delay starting Friday morning finishes Sunday morning, not Tuesday morning.
Exactly. You have to factor weekends into your delay timings, even in a weekday-only workflow. Critical detail for timing follow-ups.
Definitely critical. What about data history? If you use a workflow to, say, clear a contact's lifecycle stage, what happens to associated dates like became a customer date?
They get cleared too. It's a chain reaction. Clearing the lifecycle stage property via a workflow will also wipe out those associated date properties. So you really need to be intentional when building workflows that change lifecycle stages.
Be careful with those clear actions. And one more workflow scenario. What if a contact gets deleted while they're sitting in a workflow, maybe paused in a delay action? Do they just vanish from the workflow instantly?
You'd think so, wouldn't you? But no. If a contact is deleted while they're currently paused in a workflow because of a delay action, they actually stay enrolled in that workflow until the delay finishes.
So a deleted contact might still complete the next step after the delay.
That's right. They hang around until that specific delay action completes. A bit counterintuitive.
Very counterintuitive. Okay, let's move on to content and design within HubSpot. If a business wants to move their website, maybe bring existing pages into HubSpot. Is that straightforward?
Yeah, pretty straightforward. You can absolutely migrate both existing website pages and landing pages onto the HubSpot CMS. It helps centralize things.
Good to know. And blog scheduling. What determines when a scheduled post actually goes live? Is it my local time?
Nope, it's based on the time zone setting for the entire HubSpot account, not your individual computer's time zone. So make sure the account setting is correct, especially if your team is distributed.
Account time zone. Got it.
Yeah.
What about changing a blog post's publish date after it's already live? Could you do that? Seems like you shouldn't be able to.
You absolutely can. Just go into the editor for that post, head to Publish and Schedule tab, and you can change the date, even backwards or forwards. It's useful for updating or re-promoting content.
Handy. How can you tie specific content pieces, blogs, landing pages, to specific marketing campaigns to measure effectiveness? Isolate the impact.
Yep. HubSpot's campaign tool is built for this. You can directly associate your HubSpot content assets like blogs, landing pages, marketing emails with a specific campaign. That way, the performance reporting is filtered just for that initiative. Very granular.
Nice. And isn't there a sort of built-in help feature, like right where you need it?
Yes. The little help button, usually down the bottom right of the portal, click that, and it smartly shows you knowledge-based articles relevant to the specific tool or section you're looking at right then. Super useful contextual help.
Contextual help, great. What about setting a default blog? If I set one, does my whole team see that as the default?
No, that's another user-specific setting. Each user has to click the little star icon next to the blog they want as their personal default. Your default doesn't affect anyone else's view.
Personal preference. Okay. A/B testing emails. How much can you change between version A and version B? Just text or more?
You can go wild. You can use completely different email templates for version A and version B if you want. Test radical design changes, layouts, anything, not just tweaking subject lines.
Full template swaps. That's powerful. Now, for engaging content, beyond the usual, any sort of fun, maybe surprising options you can embed.
Yeah, this is a fun one. Think about creating those BuzzFeed-style quizzes. You can use external tools like Try Interact, for example, build your quiz there, and then just embed it right onto a HubSpot landing page or blog post. Great for engagement and lead gen.
Quizzes. Love it. RSS feeds in HubSpot. Is there a limit to how many posts they display?
Yep, there's a limit. The RSS feed tool will show up to the 50 latest posts from the feed source. It's meant for recent updates, not a full archive.
50 posts. Okay. Now, connecting your email sending domain. It removes that via HubSpot thing, right? Makes it look like it comes from you.
It does remove the via HubSpot, which is key for branding and deliverability. Makes emails look like they come from your domain. But technically, the emails are still being sent from HubSpot's servers. It's just masked effectively. Understanding that technical layer is interesting.
So it looks like it's from you, but HubSpot is still handling the delivery infrastructure.
Makes sense. Can you host the same subdomain, like blog.yourdomain.com, with two different providers simultaneously, say HubSpot and WordPress?
Nope, definitely cannot do that. A specific subdomain, like blog.yourdomain.com, can only be hosted by one provider at a time. You have to choose either HubSpot or WordPress, not both, for the exact same address.
One host per subdomain.
Okay.
Clear. If someone changes their main website domain connected to HubSpot, what happens to the old domain? Does it just break?
No, HubSpot's pretty smart about this. The old unused domain that was connected will automatically redirect to the new primary domain you've set. Might take a couple of minutes, maybe 2, 3, for the redirect to fully kick in, but it's automatic.
Automatic redirects, nice. And double opt-in. If you enable it on all pages, does that really mean every single page everywhere associated with your brand? Not quite everywhere. That setting specifically applies only to pages where the HubSpot tracking code is actually embedded and active. If you have pages without that code, the double opt-in process won't trigger there. The tracking code is the key.
The tracking code is the boundary. Good distinction. Okay, let's get into some more advanced stuff: design, email specifics, system interactions. Embedding YouTube videos. How can you track engagement better than just knowing someone visited the page?
You can add parameters right onto the YouTube URL when you embed it. Things like .autoplay1 to make it play automatically, mute1 to start muted, acoload policy1 for automatic captions. These don't just control playback, they can help infer engagement, especially if combined with HubSpot's event tracking. Google has a whole list of these parameters you can use.
URL parameters for control and tracking, okay. Custom HTML modules, can you still use those if you prefer them? And what's a big limitation?
Yeah, you can usually find or add custom HTML modules, often via the marketplace, but the major limitation is they do not accept Hubble. Hubble is HubSpot's templating language that pulls in dynamic data, so custom HTML modules are static in that sense.
No Hubble in custom HTML. That's a big one. Okay, email design nightmare. Outlook. We know it ignores some modern CSS. What's the go-to fix for aligning images so they don't break in Outlook?
Outlook.
Yeah, because it often ignores CSS float rules, the classic fix is to fall back to old school HTML. Use the align left or align right attribute directly on the image tag within your rich text modules. It's not pretty CSS, but it works in Outlook.
Use the align attribute. Sometimes the old ways are best for compatibility, huh?
Unfortunately, yes, especially with email clients.
For people writing CSS, maybe for emails or landing pages, margins, and padding, if you use the shorthand with 4 values, what's the order they apply in?
It's clockwise. Always. Yep. Top right, bottom left. So margin. 10p pointing to 20p by 30p by 40px. Means 10 top, 20 right, 30 bottom, 40 left. Remember trouble, TRBL. Trouble. Good mnemonic. And the CSS trick for centering an image. 2 simple steps.
Yep, the classic 2-step. First, set the image display to display.block. Second, set the horizontal margins to auto, margin, 0, auto. That combo does the trick.
Display.block, margin 0, auto. Got it. Okay, integrations. Syncing HubSpot with, say, Salesforce. How many API calls does that typically use per record? Important for staying under limits.
Crucial for API limits. A typical sync uses roughly 3 to 4 API calls per record being synced. So syncing 1,000 contacts could easily eat up 3,000 to 4,000 API calls from your limit. You need to budget for that.
3 to 4 calls per record. That adds up fast. And if you see that browser error are blocked by client while using HubSpot, what's usually causing that?
9 times out of 10, that error means something in the browser is blocking content. And the most common culprit is an ad blocker extension or something similar. Try disabling it for HubSpot.
Check your ad blocker first.
Okay, let's pivot to email deliverability and getting meaningful insights from reporting. CCing someone on an email sent via the HubSpot CRM, what does HubSpot do with that CC'd address? It automatically creates a brand new contact record for that CC'd email address. So be aware if you CC colleagues frequently, you might be creating a lot of internal contacts unless you manage them.
Creates a new contact. Good to know for database hygiene. Bounce is hard bounce versus soft bounce. What's the key difference?
Okay, a hard bounce is permanent. The email address is invalid, doesn't exist, server rejected it outright, delivery failed permanently. A soft bounce is temporary. Maybe the inbox was full, server was down, email was too large. HubSpot actually keeps trying to deliver a soft bounce for up to 72 hours before giving up and marking it as a hard bounce if it still fails.
72-hour retry for soft bounces, permanent failure for hard. Get clear. Unsubscribe options. What choices can you give people? Just unsubscribe from all.
You can offer more granularity, which is good practice. You can have the standard unsubscribe from all. You can also link to a subscription preferences page where contacts can choose to opt out of specific email types or topics rather than everything. Gives them control.
Preference centers are definitely better. Can you resend the exact same marketing email to the same contact twice? Like if they missed it?
No, HubSpot prevents that. You cannot send the identical email marketing message to the same contact twice. You have to clone the email first, create a new version, and send the clone.
Clone it first, okay? And if you turn off sales email notifications, who does that affect? Just you.
No, that's a wider impact. Turning off those sales email notifications disables them for all recipients included in that specific email thread that's being tracked. It's not just your personal setting.
It affects everyone on the thread.
Got it.
Reporting how flexible is HubSpot if the standard dashboards aren't enough. Can you build your own views?
Oh, highly flexible. You can build custom reports from scratch, create custom contact dashboards, filter data based on almost any property or interaction. You can really tailor reporting to your specific KPIs.
Custom reports are key. Now, Google Analytics integration. If you suddenly see a huge spike in website visitors, what might be going on besides genuine interest?
Yeah. Be skeptical of sudden, massive spikes. It could be bot traffic. Look for unusually high bounce rates or weird traffic sources. It could also be web crawlers like those from AWS, Amazon Web Services. They inflate numbers, but aren't real users. Dig deeper than the surface number.
Look out for bots and crawlers. The marketing performance dashboard, when it shows customers, what date is it basing that on? The date they signed.
No, that's a common misconception. It shows customers based on the month of their first conversion recorded in HubSpot, not necessarily the month they officially became a paying customer. It tracks back to that initial marketing touch point.
First conversion month. Important for attribution. Tracking URLs. How do they work if the link actually redirects somewhere else? Does the tracking still apply?
Yes, it does. As long as the final destination URL still contains those HubSpot tracking parameters on UTM codes, etc. It doesn't matter if the user clicked the tracking URL directly or landed there via redirect. The session gets attributed because the parameters loaded on the final page.
Tracking follows the parameters, even through redirects. Smart. The list tool, how granular can you get with filtering contacts? Beyond just properties.
You can get really granular. You can filter based on the subject lines of sales team emails they received, or based on associated meetings, notes, call notes, even tasks logged against them. Lots of activity-based filtering.
Email subjects, meetings, tasks.
Yeah.
Very detailed. Tracking email link clicks. Can you see which links were clicked?
Yes. Within the email performance details, you can see click counts for the various individual links inside the email. Or using lists or dashboards, you can segment contacts based on emails having more than 0 clicks or clicks on specific links.
Individual link clicks, great. And if you unpublish a landing page and then republish it later, what happens to its performance stats? Do they reset?
Nope, they stay put. If you unpublish and then republish a landing page, all its historical metrics, views, submissions, etc. remain intact on the performance page. The data persists.
Data persists through unpublishing. Good. Okay, final section. Sales tools and social media. How does HubSpot help sales teams predict if a deal might close? Is it just gut feeling?
No gut feelings here, it's data-driven. HubSpot Sales Hub has features that actually analyze engagement and deal data to predict the likelihood of closing for specific opportunities or contacts. Give sales reps a predictive score to help them prioritize.
Predictive lead scoring. Nice. Meeting reminders, can HubSpot automate those, and can you tweak them?
Yes and yes. You can set up automated reminder emails for meetings booked through HubSpot meeting links. And when you edit those meeting link settings, you can specifically configure if and when those reminder emails go out.
Configurable reminders. Essential. Live chat, if an agent doesn't respond right away, when does it try to capture the visitor's email?
It's usually configurable, but typically it waits about 60 seconds. If no agent has responded within that minute, then the chat widget can be set to prompt the visitor for their email address so someone can follow up. It doesn't ask immediately.
60-second delay before asking for email. And where do those chat conversations get stored?
Right onto the contact's timeline in the CRM. Like everything else, it gets logged automatically against their record for a full history.
Integrated history. Perfect. Social media. How do you link specific social posts to your HubSpot campaigns? Is there a time limit?
You can. Within the Campaigns tool, you can associate social posts published via HubSpot within the last 30 days of the campaign's timeframe. The social publishing tool itself offers ways to link posts made during the campaign period, too.
Link recent posts published via HubSpot.
Okay.
And a practical tip for social media image sizes, any advice for planning future posts?
Yeah, a good tip is to identify a hero post, one of your past social posts that performed really well visually and engagement-wise. Keep its dimensions and style in mind as a sort of template or benchmark for future image sizing to try and replicate that success.
Use a successful hero post as a visual guide. Smart. Wow, we have covered a ton of ground today. I mean, from the real nitty-gritty of contact deletion rules all the way to CSS quirks and API calls. It just shows how deep HubSpot goes, doesn't it?
It really does. And true mastery, I think, comes from understanding these sometimes small, nuanced details and how they connect. HubSpot, across its CRM, marketing, sales, service hubs, it's designed to scale with you, starter to enterprise. But applying this kind of knowledge is what really unlocks efficiency and growth.
Absolutely. Knowledge understood and applied, as you said. So here's something for you, the listener, to think about. After hearing all these specific details, how might just one seemingly minor setting or maybe an oversight in your HubSpot setup, how could it be influencing your customer journey or even your long-term growth in ways you hadn't considered before? Maybe think about one small area, a workflow delay, a data property, an email setting that you could investigate or perhaps optimize in your own HubSpot instance after hearing all this today.